Welcome back, Mr. Goodberry. The First Star Logistics studio is fully equipped and ready to record.
We've got a lot to talk about before we close the book completely on 2022. I got a couple games I would like to review, a couple scenarios, situations, questions that were brought up and pointed in my direction. Things we can review and maybe get an answer on. Maybe we can look at a couple guys that may be being pushed or elevated, getting an opportunity to claim different roles on this starting roster. We'll look at one of those today in Trayveon Williams. But I've got a question from a Twitter subscriber that I thought would be a good topic here and lead us into offensive line play. But also I have some film of something that I think will be an interesting topic. It was something I discussed last summer as a way that defenses are going to adjust to the 2022 Bengals. And we did see that. And it took the Bengals a few weeks to adjust themselves and get right on track. We'll dive into that as well. That's a few minutes of film review there. This is Bengals on the Brain. I am Joe Goodberry. This is presented by First Star Logistics. This is our first show together. If this is your first time watching, I've been doing Bengals on the Brain for the past year on YouTube. I've been making Bengals-related content on social media, writing for different publications, making videos on YouTube, and as well as Twitter, but also podcasting. So I've been doing that for about 14 years now. And I always knew First Star, they would be a great partner in producing this show. You know, they treated me very well in the past, brought me down there for multiple games, put me in the First Star suite, and just really rolled out the red carpet and recruited me for the past 6 to 8 months or so. And we found the time over the summer to hash out the deal and bring the show to you guys and bring it to new heights. So if you're somebody that has watched before, you know what to expect, but we're bringing it a little bit better, a little bit bigger with First Star. So we'll jump into it first right away. I got a question on Twitter from Bassett00. He's a Twitter subscriber. He asked, had the Bengals upgraded their offensive tackle position enough that Hakeem Adeniji is probably on the outside looking in? And do we see them carrying the cap hits of La'el Collins and Jonah Williams, assuming one of those wins the job, the other one backs up, or maybe even Jackson Carman, right? He didn't say that, but maybe Jackson Carman wins the job. No, I think definitely not. But will they keep both guys with those salaries? And what would it look like if they had to cut La'el Collins? Because we know Jonah Williams and his $12.9 million cap hit for 2023 is fully guaranteed. It's a fifth-year option. That's how rookie pay scales work. You pick up that fifth-year option, and you get all that money back if they can trade him, which is why I don't completely take that off the books yet, because this is a larger question, and maybe I'm going a little too far, but I do believe that they still need a little bit more money if they intend to extend Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Logan Wilson. If you want to do all three of those, you probably want to put another $10 million at least on Joe Burrow's 2023 deal. You want to put another $4.5 to $8 million on T. Higgins, depending on how much you want to front load before you have to pay Jamar Chase. You don't want to have those collecting big money together. And then Logan Wilson, if you want to extend him, where's the range? There's some projections that he could get $13 to $15 million. But if he's in the $10 to $12 million range still, that would be a pretty sizable 2023 increase in pay. And to do that, you either have to rework Joe Mixon's deal or potentially extend DJ Reader, restructure Trey Hendrickson, or look at the right tackle position. I do believe, to answer your first question, Bassett, that they have upgraded the depth enough at tackle that we really probably shouldn't get to Hakeem Adeniji again. They've had to turn in Adeniji the last 2 years, in 2021 at right guard, last year at right tackle after La'el Collins went down. He's a good, versatile backup depth piece and can get you out of a game. But I think when it goes to prolonged starts, 3 games, 4 games, 5 games, that's when you start to have the issues, and that's when he starts to get attacked. I mean, the final play of the 2022 season was the Chiefs lining their best defender up across from Hakeem Adeniji, even though Chris Jones is mostly a defensive tackle, an interior rusher. They lined him up on the edge and let him go one-on-one with Adeniji and attack the Bengals' weak spot. As of right now, if we're saying Orlando Brown and Jonah Williams are the favorites to win the jobs at tackle, Orlando Brown assuredly the starting left tackle, but if Jonah Williams is the favorite right tackle, I don't know if La'el Collins is healthy this instant. I don't know if he's healthy day one of camp. So when does he get healthy? Does he start off on the PUP list? I think that's very likely. And then you can carry him into week 6 or so, even beyond, up to week 10, I believe it is. And that's good insurance because the Bengals have dealt with injuries in the second half of the last 2 seasons on the offensive line. Getting La'el Collins into the midway point wouldn't be a bad idea. So if it's really between Jonah Williams and Jackson Carman, and Jonah Williams wins that job, Carman being your backup at potentially left tackle and right tackle before Hakeem Adeniji, if Carman is trusted to that level, and it seems like he's on pace for that. And then they also signed Cody Ford. So I think Ford could play guard or tackle, same way Hakeem Adeniji has for the Bengals. And that's probably the battle between those two. They didn't guarantee anything for Cody Ford while he has the pedigree of a former second-round pick out of Oklahoma. He hasn't played very well in his NFL career. That's why he was traded from the Bills and didn't find a starting spot with the Cardinals. So I think that could be a battle for that 4th tackle job until La'el Collins did return if they decided to keep all 3. If Collins is healthy and wins the job outright, then you move on from Jonah Williams and take whatever you can get, even if it's a 5th-round pick, right? Because it clears cap space. Maybe you get a tight end in a 5th-round pick. Maybe you add to the depth there. Maybe somebody goes down on another team a tackle, and now his value is even greater, and you get a 2nd, 3rd, 4th-round pick. Maybe Jackson Carman just wins that job, shows up and is ready to go in camp for the first time and completely wins that job. That's sure, that could happen. But I do think the tackle position is wholly upgraded. They've never had depth like this with La'el Collins and Jackson Carman. The pedigree is there for those guys. We saw the way Carman can play in spot duty. Maybe that's what he is. And if that, you can get out of multiple games, 2, 3, 4 games with Jackson Carman if you have to. So I do think they upgraded. I don't know that they carry all that cash because I think they need to extend the big 3. That's Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Logan Wilson. And if they do, things will get really tight. The next thing we'll do, part 2 of the show, we'll be looking at a topic that was brought up last offseason when everyone said, well, how are defenses going to adjust to the Bengals? In 2021, the Bengals were a vertical outside, launch it deep downfield, let Jamar Chase and T. Higgins do their thing type of team. And you knew right then and there was going to be some adjustments. They made it as far as they did, and right away we saw it was a wholesale change across the NFL. Defensive coordinators were no longer letting teams just throw the ball downfield, putting a shell or a cap on explosive offenses, but especially with the Bengals. I don't think anyone wanted to see Jamar Chase gritty in their end zone. So what you'll hear is cover 2 shells, playing deep, prevent defense almost, and saying, if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us with 8, 10, 12 play drives and even plus. And we're going to bank on your offensive line making a mistake. We're going to bank on one of your run plays going for 0, or maybe an untimely incomplete pass on 3rd down. And we're going to get off the field because of it. But we're not going to let you go 3 plays, 70 yards, and score a touchdown. And so the Bengals needed to adjust. They saw more cover 2. They saw it as much as any team in the league. And by week 4, 5, 6, they understood they're not going to hit deep balls all year long anymore. Not like 2021. So they adjusted, and they peppered and picked apart the cover 2 defense. They really did. They became one of the most efficient offenses in the league. Joe Burrow became one of the best quarterbacks against cover 2. They found a way to create just enough explosive plays, not enough going forward. I think that's something they're going to have to add. It's another conversation we'll have. But what will defenses do now? What would be the adjustment now? The Bengals almost made it back to the Super Bowl. Play your cover 2. The Bengals are going to be efficient. They're going to be accurate. They're going to play mistake-free football. And if you give them the chance, they'll still hit those vertical shots. So what will we see now? I think the Ravens game from the wild card weekend gives us a lot of clues of what teams are going to try to do to limit the Bengals offense in 2023. Let's take a look. So I think the Ravens laid out a good blueprint for how defenses should attack this Bengals team. And I think the Bengals are already aware of it and adjusting based on what they've shown so far in OTAs and camp, or at least what they've allowed us to see. So we're going to start this up here. I've cut maybe 6 or so plays, and the Ravens did this a bunch. Remember, they played back-to-back weeks, and they gave up a few vertical balls, especially to Jamar Chase in that Week 18 matchup. But when you go here, what I want to show is cover 2 shell from a pre-snap look, right? You see 2 deep safeties, the field split. This is an effort to limit the outside receivers from getting vertical down the sideline. That makes sense, right? You've got 6 in the box to defend the run. The 7th guy being the nickel guy. We're not going to worry about him just yet, but he'll come back up. So we got 6 in this box. Bengals are going to bring Hayden Hurst back into motion and give them 6 blockers. So they're saying, all right, cover 2. How do you get a team out of a cover 2 shell? You run the football against them. You got 6 blockers versus 6 defenders. It means Joe Mixon potentially runs free if everyone gets their block, right? If everything goes right, as we see in the following week against Bills, everything did go right, you can do that and everything looks great. This is a minimal gain. This isn't what you want. This isn't going to get teams out of a cover 2 shell. If you look, both safeties are reacting to the run very quickly. Yeah, they're lined up in a cover 2 shell look pre-snap, but they are jumping down. The Bengals have RPOs mixed in here, which is a run-pass option. They could throw that wide receiver bubble screen to the left or potentially a slant to T. Higgins to the right, but they're not really reading it or selling it. You know what I mean? They're not reading the unblocked defender or the second-level defender and throwing it. They're actually running the ball because they see the cover 2 shell. As we know, that's the old saying. As these guys split to the outside, the yellow here is middle of the field open. So when you got cover 2 split safeties, you have the middle of the field open. You have these hole shots between the corners and the safeties. And then you have these little intermediate hooks, curls, digs from your receivers over the middle that you can hit. These are the open spots against cover 2 if you want to throw the ball. And Joe Burrow's going right for it. As you see, he's got split safeties, but the near side safety is not actually playing cover 2. He's coming up and he's filling right away, and he nails Jamar Chase. Now, these are back-to-back plays. They show the cover 2, and they rotate out of it about a click after the play starts. So, again, safeties are about the same depth aligned down the field. They're showing a split safety look. We're bringing Tyler Boyd in motion, and we've got routes to beat both of these. Tyler Boyd is going to split both those safeties. If it's a cover 2 shell, if the middle of the field is open, you're going to Tyler Boyd. If they rotate and give you a cover 1 or cover 3 look by having that far side safety come down, well, then let's hit Jamar Chase on the go ball one-on-one with the corner. So we're going to take the snap here. It's 3rd down, and you're going to see right away that safety goes over the top of Jamar Chase. You're thinking, can't go that way. We can't go to Chase. It must be split safeties. So let's hit Tyler Boyd over the middle. But that far side safety is also playing middle of the field closed. So they're not really playing cover 1 or cover 2 here. They're saying we're going to let the outside boundary receiver go one-on-one, and we think we're going to take away your number 1 and 2 read on this play. And they were correct. Good thing Joe Burrow bought a little bit more time and kept his wits about him. That's why he's so good. This is one of his superpowers and his strengths, not just his accuracy, but his processing. You see his eyes go right away. Let me check, make sure I don't have Chase one-on-one. Okay, the safety's over there. Middle of the field must be open. Let me look at Boyd. No, that other safety is still there coming down on him. We don't want that. So he climbs the pocket, remains a passer, and delivers a strike as he gets hit to T. Higgins. That's a really good play. Really like that play out of Joe Burrow. It shows everything that he can do. And it's why getting more time on the offensive line, upgrading the offensive line, getting better up front is so crucial for this offense to take the next step, because the backside dig is there. You got to have time to get to it. If that's read number 3 at best, for you to be able to go 2.5 seconds, all right, let me climb the pocket and get back to it, realizing that's the one-on-one situation, not only does it take the mental processing and the ability to do that, but the fortitude. And you got to be fortunate enough to have the offensive line block, and they did well there. So we'll move on. This is now in the second half. Ravens, again, showing split safety. Again, same things. We got 6 in the box. We've got 6 blockers with the tight end there for the Bengals offensive line. So it's split safeties, and you've got the numbers advantage. But keep an eye on Kyle Hamilton last year's first-round pick out of Notre Dame, and the near side safety as he closes down into the run. Again, the Bengals have RPO options here with the bubble screen to the left. By them showing cover two, saying they're inviting you to run. If you can't block it up perfectly, if you can't block it up good enough, that's why defenses are letting you run the ball. They're going to say you're not going to get 6 every play. You may get 6 and then 1. You may get 8 and then 1. And any team's going to take a 2nd and 9 or 3rd and 9 situation after that 1. And the Ravens are daring you at that point to run it better than we think you can. Make somebody miss, break a tackle, show some speed in the backfield, or block it up perfectly. And we don't believe you guys can do that. So the Ravens, they're correct. The Bengals weren't a very efficient running team last year. They became a very dynamic and could run out of anything, which is key. And I think that'll be a whole segment or a whole series when we get to it. But let's move on again. Again, same look by the Ravens. They're going to show split safeties. They're going to show 6 versus 6. Again, we should be running the ball. Joe Burrow moves Joe Mixon over to the left. Well, again, let's go back to Kyle Hamilton, last year's first-round pick out of Notre Dame. He's a nickel slot safety type. He's actually going to come down and be the 7th guy now. So now there's an unblocked defender. And if the Bengals wanted to RPO here, they could. Let me pause it, actually. They could, and I think that's why they're putting that in, and you're seeing much more of the play action out of shotgun, much more of the RPO looks out of mini camps and OTAs, because if you read this again next time, Joe Burrow may be able to pull that back and just hit Tyler Boyd right over the middle, in this window right here in front of the safety, and let him make a play. Maybe he makes a guy miss. And I think that's how you create explosive plays with RPOs. I was asked this and talked about it on Twitter. How does that create explosives? Well, by saying, okay, 7th guy, go ahead and invite yourself in to the run game and to the run scheme, because Kyle Hamilton ends up being part of the tackle here for a loss. Go ahead and come on in here. We're going to take advantage of that and hit our one-on-ones, because that's how you get one-on-ones again. And the Bengals didn't get many of those with their receivers. I think that's how you create them, through the bubble screens, through the slants, through here just finding a void. Even Tyler Boyd looked back and looked like, hey, I might get the pass here because he was open. So the idea there that the Ravens showed, and I think what defenses will try to do, is not just show the cover 2 shell, right? Because the Bengals figured out how to beat cover 2. But you always don't just show what you're going to play and then play it. That's the crux. You may show a middle of the field closed and say, okay, we're going to give you the outside shot. And then you swap and the 2 safeties rotate, and now you're in a cover 2 shell, and you're giving middle of the field open. You're giving the underneath stuff, letting the Bengals hit the short to intermediate range and pepper you down the field, right? Or you show cover 2 pre-snap and you switch to cover 1, cover 3, middle of the field closed. Don't give them those balls over the middle and make them push it downfield. Obviously, we know defenses aren't going to do that too often. So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about showing the shell and saying to the Bengals, hey, we're not giving you the over-the-top shot. We're not giving you the vertical balls on the outside from the jump. And they don't give their intentions away. So you can rotate into a middle field closed situation out of that look. But what the Ravens were doing and what other teams have done, I think back in the Broncos game in 2021 where they struggled to score, the defense had to win that at the end. What you do is you show the 2 safeties, and instead of rotating right before the snap or right at the snap, like the Bills were showing it way too soon. The Bills were like, you could see, not only were they starting like this, but they were leaning right as the snap comes. You hold your water as long as you can, and even after the snap, and then you move them. And then you move your safeties, and they can take different routes away, different windows away. And that's the idea, is to scare them, so the Bengals at the line right away. You make the receivers read the defense. You make the quarterback read the defense. You put stress on the receivers because you say right away, all right, we're not going deep. So read what the safety does as you're running your route. If he comes down in this area, hook up here. If he stays over here, you keep going across the middle of the field, or you split the safeties, whatever the case may be. And so it really puts an onus on these receivers to take their game to another level. Not that they can't do this and haven't done it already, but it may be more common going forward. And I think that's why I wanted to bring up the RPOs. It's not like, you may know, if you're unfamiliar with RPOs, it's a run-pass option. It's not how you remember in high school or in college where it's a read option, although it's kind of similar, but it's not quarterback or halfback and run the ball. It's a legit RPO, meaning I can run the ball here or I could throw the ball, or it's a packaged play, some may call it, where you have multiple plays in one, and you can almost decide pre-snap what it's going to be based on the look, or post-snap based on a read, which is an RPO. So you can fake the handoff or give the handoff if that, let's say you're watching that nickel defender, say it's Kyle Hamilton, and as you go to put the ball in his stomach, does he come down to defend the run? If he does, you pull it up, hit the slant behind him. If he doesn't, then you give it to Mixon. It's a 6-on-6, let him run. And that's how you freeze that guy. Don't allow them to come in and limit your run game. Or if he does want to play hard against the run, you get easy balls over the middle that maybe he can make a guy miss. Maybe that's chasing the slot, and he makes a guy miss and goes 50 yards, right? So what you're doing is you're freezing a defender and getting a numbers advantage, hopefully back on your side. And based on the OTA looks and minicamp looks that we've gotten, they're play action and RPOing like crazy. So I think that's the idea. I want to move on to a player evaluation next. One guy that's in line potentially to have a big role with this team is Trayveon Williams. Going into his 5th year now out of Texas A&M. When the Bengals only spent a 5th-round pick on Chase Brown, I re-looked at this roster because the Bengals have spent day 3 picks before on running backs, not just Trayveon Williams, but Rodney Anderson, Rex Burkhead, Boom Herron. I'm going back. But Chris Evans, and now Chase Brown, going back, right? 10 years. It's got to be in that range. But the point stands. I had to reevaluate. Is Chase Brown going to be the de facto number 2? Is he just going to slide into that 3rd down back role? I've done film reviews on Chase Brown, but we'll have to bring him up again for the new channel. But Trayveon Williams, can he be the Samaje Perine? Perine's not extraordinary in any way. He's not super strong or super fast or a great receiver. He's good in all phases and just does his job and became a really good blocker. But he wasn't always a good blocker. I remember when he first got to the Bengals, they didn't trust him to do it. When he was with Miami and Washington, they didn't trust him to do it. So can Trayveon Williams, has he been developing behind the scenes to take over as that 3rd down back? I dug up a bunch of clips of him, not just running, but protecting as well, because we don't have a lot of those snaps in his career. And I wonder what you guys think after we watch these.
Trayveon Williams, number 32. Let's start with his preseason from 2022. And things we're looking for as we're looking back now on his 2022 campaign. Pass protection. How often did he do it? How well did he do it? I've got the numbers, but I wanted to go back and look at the tape and see what kind of pass protection did they ask him to do. Was it just chipping the defensive end and then releasing like there? Which, great. Most guys could probably do that. But I also want to see as a runner, because if you remember, the Bengals switched from a wide zone scheme around week 3 to say, you know what, we got to play everything out of shotgun. Let's do more gap inside runs. So you're going to see a lot of wide zone runs here from Williams in the preseason. So I wanted to see how he looked in those and, overall, what kind of runner was he? What did his speed and agility look like? What does his vision look like right here? I thought he could have cut up field and not left it to a 4th and 1 decision. How does he read the inside stuff? Like right there, really well. But Trayveon Williams is 25.6 years old. Former 6th round pick for the Bengals. Very similar to Chase Brown, meaning his profile in a lot of ways. Did you know Trayveon Williams was only 5'8", 205? He's built like Giovanni Bernard. I think some people thought he'd be more of a power guy just based on some of the conversations I had. And I'm like, no, he's not Samaje Perine. He's not thickly built like that, even if that's the role we're wondering if he can fill. I think we're looking at 2 guys here in Chase Brown and Trayveon Williams that most would consider undersized guys. And that's fine as long as you can, keep them fresh, not let them get beat up back there, and not ask them to really run with power. You can see he got 7 rushers here, 7 blockers. So how's he going to handle this? If he's being the Perine, well, you got to be heady. You got to be smart. You got to be able to pick up this blitz. And they're going to drop the 1 edge guy here on the right and bring in the nickel all the way from the other side. Watch Trayveon Williams' eyes. He sees it. He's going to shuffle over, stay out of the way of the quarterback, and pick it up. Allow him to allow the quarterback to move in the pocket and get a pass off. So if we include all of the preseason reps with Trayveon Williams, in his career he's had 27 pass blocking snaps per PFF. Not a lot. In preseason, though, last year he had an 85.3 grade in pass protection. During the regular season, he had an 80.9 pass protection grade. He's never allowed a pressure, a sack, or a hit on the quarterback in those 27 reps. So the stats say he can do it. The film looks like he can do it as well. You see, he's being asked to do a number of things here, from reading it and deciphering and chipping and helping up the middle, helping on the edges, whatever it takes to give the quarterback another half second. As a runner in his career, he's got 47 carries, 238 yards. That's a 5.1 average. Mostly thanks to one long run against the Baltimore Ravens from a few years ago, which I will try to include at the end of this series of clips here for Trayveon Williams. Let's watch him pick up another and help out in pass protection, as he's got to get the blitzer from the edge there. Just gets enough to allow the quarterback to get a deep ball off. Really nice grab. I think that was Kendrick Perkins, if you remember from last preseason. Here's the reception out of the backfield into the flats for Williams. Makes a guy miss, breaks off another, and gets the first down. In fact, his elusive rating, which takes in missed tackles forced from PFF, is pretty high, a 129, which is higher than Perine and Mixon by double. He's making a guy miss once every 3.9 touches. So that's pretty impressive. And his career yards after contact, after we see another pickup there to allow Brandon Allen to run with the ball. But his yards after contact per attempt, 4.17 so far, which is really high, ridiculously high. That's like lead the league type stuff. Let's watch him pick up one more here in preseason against the Cardinals. 36 is coming. Just chip him, let this play get off to the other side. So now we're up to the regular season. If you remember some of these games, Joe Mixon went down, and it had to be Samaje Perine and Trayveon Williams protecting for Joe Burrow. I think he had 4 touchdowns in this game, throwing 2 to Perine and Trent Irwin. Or was it 3 Perine, 1 Irwin? Either way, let's watch Williams here pick up this blitzer and really stone him. No problem there at all for a smaller back. And Williams is going to do the wide zone to the left here. Break through contact at the line of scrimmage. It's a good read. It's a good finish in the run. Running through contact with good pace and balance. And we broke down wide zone before, but if you don't know, first you're going to read the outside guy. If the outside edge guy has the outside leverage, you go to the next read. That's Jonah Williams. He's got his man, so split him. And he does there. So can he be the third down back if Mixon is the bell cow guy still for this Bengals offense? And he's reading the middle linebacker here. That's why I wanted to highlight it, but I'll keep going with what I'm saying. If he can be the third down back, the Perine, I remember not thinking Perine could be that guy. You got 4 obvious rushers, maybe a 5th right here. Let's see if Trayveon Williams can pick up this one. Oh, it's actually 47 coming. Get a chip on him, and looks like he got his butt into read there, number 20, to let this play get off. Let's take another closer look here. Hit 47, but you also got Reed coming over. Accidentally slow him down, as looks like Volson came over to help clean that up. But I remember not thinking that Perine could be the pass protector. Another protection play here. Get over. Just get in the way. Just enough to get the slant off to Jamar Chase. And Perine, because he had 23 pass protection snaps in 2017, 3 years before the Bengals were going to use him in that role. And, like, that was it for him. So I didn't know if he could be that guy either. Here's Williams, his best play of the year, right? He helps chip, looks like the defensive end for the Titans, then goes out on an... I don't know if he makes this up as it goes, because actually, I think Chris Evans runs this in preseason. Watching tape of preseason recently. Runs it the exact same way, but he's going to give a chip, go to the flat, and then fake it and act like he's going to come back inside. Makes a really nice catch in the air after he breaks free. If he would have stayed up, that would have been his first career regular season touchdown, as he's going to chip on the edge here. But if you remember, it was Giovanni Bernard as the third down back. And when they cut him, it was like, yeah, I guess Perine's going to do it, but he did it 3 times the last year total. Is he really going to be their third down back in their system? And he ended up doing it and doing a really good job at it. And he was like a slow cooking. This is another really nice hard run. That's Jeffrey Simmons that laid into him, and Trayveon Williams ate that. But Perine ended up being really good at it. And if Williams can be slow cooked and developed and trusted into that role, then I think he could be every bit of Perine, just in a smaller body. Yeah, I don't think Perine was special in any way. Like, he didn't have the speed. Neither does Williams, as you see him getting caught from behind here. But the agility and the explosion, nothing special about Williams in that package at all. He's not Gio in terms of elusiveness and agility. But it seems like he's a smart runner, a hard runner, no wasted movements at all, which sometimes that's all Perine was. And Perine would get 4 yards because he's following his blocks and hitting the hole hard. I think Williams could do that and be a pass protector.
I can't wait to see that battle play out between Chase Brown and Trayveon Williams for the third down. Number 2 back roll. Maybe Chris Evans still gets back into it, right? I'm no doubt about it, ready to be hurt again after seeing some splash plays from him in preseason. I can't wait to watch it. Can't wait to get into it. Can't wait to review the tape with you guys when we have that for preseason. We still got a month away for training camp. But this has been Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics, and I'm Joe Goodberry. Until next time.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realize self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.